you, Ashley. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So, like Ashley said, I have been a trainer at Coach Training EDU for it'll be 3 years in September. And I've also been coaching professionally for 9 years. That was in April, 9 years this April. So, my background is in education. I have a master's in teaching, and a lot of the coaching I did at the beginning was coaching it was undergraduate students who are earning their degree. So, I love it because it combined the teaching part and also the coaching part. So, anything with learning new things is what I'm excited about. So, what I'm excited to share today is how to confidently navigate the logistics of coaching. I'm a detail person and I love spreadsheets. The day my husband and I got engaged, he created a spreadsheet and then he shared it with me. And I was like, oh, I like this guy already. I mean, clearly I did since I said yes, but I like the details and I like organization. And I've noticed that not everyone does, which is fine because the people who are more visionaries are the ones who come up with the dreams. And I'm more of the person who's like, okay, how are we going to do this? So I just thought it might be helpful for me to share some of the details that I have found helpful in case you hadn't thought of these details yet. So I love John's what, why, how format. So let me start with that. So the what part of this is, what does it look like to confidently navigate the logistics of coaching? To me, what it looks like is the route. You're not surprised. You've thought through the details of what's actually involved in coaching. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. So, feel free to take notes, but I'm going to ask you a lot of questions of things that you may or may not have thought about. And classic coaching, I can't tell you what to do because just because it worked for me does not mean it's going to be right for you. So I'll ask you a lot of questions and then you can think through what would be a good fit for you. And I have three different categories. So one is pre-session, so basically before you start coaching. And then the next one is during the session. So what things to think about while you're coaching. And then the last one is after the session, post session. So after the session is already done. So that's how today we'll be splitting into pre-session, during session, and post session. And I'll just give you a lot of questions and you'll probably think of even more questions. So please go ahead and write down any questions that you have. And hopefully we'll have time at the end for me to answer as many as I can. But if I don't get to answer your question today, please email me because I want to either answer it through email or if it would be useful, we can set up a time to meet one-on-one. So that's one thing. And then that's the what. The why is it important to figure out how to confidently navigate the logistics of coaching? Because imposter syndrome is real. As soon as we start doing this, we think, am I a real coach? Do I really know what I'm doing? Will I actually help someone? So I find it's helpful to collaborate as coaches and figure out what works for you. What have you tried? What are some tips? Because sometimes if you have an outside perspective of someone else saying the same thing you've already been thinking, sometimes it helps to just confirm, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know the next step. So that's the why. And then the how can you confidently navigate the logistics of coaching? Just know that you already have thought about and planned for the details. So one thing I like to do when I'm planning is I try to visualize, okay, let's start before the session starts. What are all the things I need to think about? And then while the session's going on, what might happen? What are things I should plan for? What about once it's done? So I try to visualize all the way through and do it, almost in real time where it's like, okay, I'll come in here. First, I need to make sure I look okay. Then I need to make sure my computer's working. And then I need to make sure there's nothing distracting in the background. So just trying to think through like that. So the how of the workshop is, here are a lot of details that I have thought about. So maybe they will help you as you're thinking through, just knowing that you've already thought about and planned for anything that might come up. And also knowing where you can turn when something surprises you and who your support network can be to help walk alongside this coaching journey with you. So that's a little intro here. And also, I want to encourage you to treat your business like it's a coaching client, where you're saying, let me just experiment and not be attached to a particular outcome, but just trust the process of building the business and that it will grow as a result. So when I went through 2.0 training, which was in, I think, 2017, everyone came in and they already knew, oh, I want to be a coach to mothers of drug addicts, or, they had these very specific niches, however you say it. And I was like, I don't know. I know I like coaching. But for me, as I continued coaching, I was able to figure out more of who am I? What are my natural tendencies? How can I leverage the strengths of my core motivation as a business owner? And how can I show up in the world? And then the more people I've coached, the more I've been able to figure out what works with me. What are the characteristics of these people that are working, and what are the characteristics that I say, I think this person would be a good fit for someone else. This is not a good fit for me. So basically, you're just treating your business like how you treat your coaching. Let me show up, let me give my all, but then let me also use the feedback that I get to help inform the next step. So I've got a slideshow. Let me go ahead and share. I'll share my screen. All right. Can you all see this? How to confidently navigate the logistics of coaching. Excellent. All right, let's start with, before we get started, pre-session. So the first thing some people wonder is, how much do I need to spend to get started in coaching? And I just want to encourage you to keep it simple. You don't need to pay thousands of dollars for a website or anything like that. Basically, you want to figure out first, what is your niche? So who are the specific people that you feel would be a good fit for you? And again, start with those people, and you might continue um, to to clarify as you go through that. So for me, I started with, I love school, I love learning. The more courses I can take, the better. I wish I could just be a professional student. So I was starting by coaching students. And when I started, I was in my 20s. And then as I grew and got married and had kids, I started being like, I love kids and I love teenagers, but I'm kind of ready for some grown up time now. And so it just kind of morphed into helping women, helping busy women who were also trying to balance life and work and their families. So like I said, just start somewhere, and then you'll continue to grow and refine as you go through this. So with the niche, there are several different ideas for how to figure out who is your niche. One is Brittany Barden McDonald. She was a CT EDU training. She did a power hour, and I can send the link. If you all are interested in any links or follow-ups from me, you can just privately message me your email in the chat. But anyway, so she has a power hour that was really, really helpful with some questions about how to evaluate who your niche is. And then Bree Salzman, another former trainer, she wrote an article on the ICF website about how to find your niche. So those are a couple ideas of how to get started. Other things to really work on is figure out what are the pain points that you're trying to solve. So for example, and this brings me to the next point, what should I call myself? Some people get really caught up in, am I a success coach or a life coach or whatever? One thing I like is thinking about, how do you help people? So am I an academic coach? Am I an executive coach? Am I a leadership coach? Am I a diversity and inclusion coach? One person I met, she called herself a fat coach because she was celebrating, how can I feel beautiful and help other people feel beautiful, even if we don't fit the body type that is in vogue right now. So basically, how do I help people? So think about, how do I help people? And this helps with what you should call yourself, and then also your niche. So also think about what you are doing. What are the problems that your coaching will solve for your niche clientele? So John Andrew Williams said, I help students with stress around grades, anxiety regarding relationships, and frustration about, I think it was about grades. Anyway, it's something like that. He had 3 points of, what do I help students do? So again, as a coach, we're not telling people what to do, but our coaching is designed to help address these areas or help them explore these areas. For me, what I'm saying now is, I'm a recharge coach. So it's the idea of plugging in, realizing even machines have to recharge. And if we keep going and going and going without taking a break, we're not being very helpful to anyone. So I say I help busy women create a sustainable system for avoiding burnout and enjoying wellness. So just things like that. What is it that you are trying to do? Who are you trying to help? What problems are you trying to solve? So those are some things to think through when you're thinking about your niche or what you should call yourself. And then another question sometimes is, where can I find clients? So a lot of these tips in this workshop come from John Andrew Williams. And he said, I had never heard the concept of sunshine networking, but he said, just imagine who your client is. They're like the little sun, and then all the little rays of the sun are all the different people who touch that client. So for him, the little sunshine was students, high school students. And so people touching the students would be their teachers, doctors, parents, social workers, therapists, etc. So think about who is my client, and then who are all the different people who are attached to that client. And then the suggestion is to even do workshops to those people, all the little rays of sun. Who are all those people who are interacting with your client? You're doing a workshop to basically introduce yourself. So then all of those people can recommend you to the little sunshine, to your client. So think of what types of workshop could you do? Like for me, for helping busy people, what are pain points? How do I do everything? There are so many expectations of what I expect of myself, what other people are expecting from me, what my boss expects from me at work, what my kids expect from me, what my husband expects from me. So maybe some workshop on expectations. So basically, figure out something that addresses a pain point. And then that's what you would do a short workshop on. And then at the end of the workshop, you can say, if this was helpful, here are some packages that I have, or, sign up and I can tell you more about how I can walk with you through these things. So workshops are one idea. Another is word of mouth, obviously. Like if someone's happy, they're going to tell other people. If you like writing, write articles. I started writing a monthly article in the neighborhood little newsletter here. It goes out to 3,000 houses. So I thought, hey, it doesn't hurt to get my name out here. So I write some little wellness tips. I call it wellness tips for busy humans. So it's just trying to think of who are people I can interact with, and what are all of the different ways that I could interact with them. So blog posts, social media posts, you could come up with some kind of products, hand out pens to everyone you know, or notepads or water bottles or whatever. So basically, you're just trying to think, how can I reach my target market? And it might not even be appealing directly to that target, that little sunshine. It might be even appealing to all the people who work with them. And then another thing you can do is think about who you can partner with, even if you're not officially on their payroll. So is there someone who would do well if you do well? Like if you're a wellness coach, could you partner with a local chiropractor and say, hey, can I hold workshops once a month at your office? And maybe, you could share one of my blog posts every month with your group of people, all of your clients, something like that. So even if you're not officially being paid by that person, who are people who you can partner with to get more visibility and to expose more people to what you're doing? And then another thing to think through about finding clients is just being specific about what the next step is. So like if you do a workshop, what's the next step? If you got this outcome from this workshop and you want more, the next step would be to check out whatever, this next product that I have, or this service that I have, or this next workshop that I'm doing next month, something like that. And then one other place you can find clients is a lot of places are hiring people who have an ICF credential. So if you look on LinkedIn, or if you look on indeed.com, I search all the time just because I'm kind of mesmerized by this. But if you search International Coach Federation, that's what the ICF used to be called, you'll find jobs that are looking for people who have an ICF credential. I also search International Coaching Federation, and because that's the current name. And also I search ICF, although that also returns some hits of some other company that's also called the ICF, but it's not about coaching. So you can find all kinds of places like that. And a lot of those places that are hiring coaches, some are hiring full time, but a lot of them are hiring coaches as contract workers. So it might be like, hey, if we get clients, we'll send some to you. This is how much we would pay you, things like that. So that's something that you can do too, is say, I've got a little bit of income coming on the side through whatever this business is, and I'm also looking for my own clients. All right, so that's a little bit about clients. And then next question, what should I charge? So I hear a lot of people wondering, how do I even know what to charge? So I like the rule of thumb, charge whatever you feel confident requesting. So if you're still getting started, you might be like, I know I'm still learning. I mean, I know I'm still learning also. I'm always learning. But you might say, really, I feel awkward even asking for anything. So you can barter. You could barter for goods or services. Like I'll give you one coaching session in exchange for you buying me lunch. Or I'll give you one coaching session in exchange for, you're good at website design. How much do you charge to design a website for me? Okay. And in my head, I would like to charge this much. So that would be this many sessions. I would give you this many sessions in exchange for your help with my website, negotiating like that. So if you barter for coaching for goods or services, that actually counts as paid coaching on your ICF coaching log. So that's pretty cool. So basically, charge whatever you feel confident coaching. I could also send a link of a site that I found. It's called Noomi, Noomi. And it was a site that has profiles of coaches all over the world. So what I did when I found this site is I looked at what coaches in my area were charging, coaches who had my similar experience and credential level. And then that gave me some idea of what to charge. So basically, what I recommend is figure out what your ideal amount would be to charge. And another thing some people think about is, when should I increase my rates? So if you want, you could even create for yourself, all right, once I finish CTEDU training, I'm going to charge this much. And once I finish my ACC, once I get my ACC credential, I'm going to move myself up a level. I get a raise. Once I get my PCC, I get another raise. So you could figure out, how will I know when to increase my rates? So it might be when I'm hitting these different milestones, or it might be when I get this many clients, I get another raise, to this amount. But it's helpful to figure out what you want to charge first. And then even if you are doing barter coaching, I found that it's useful to tell people your typical rate, even if you've never gotten that much in your life because you're just starting. You could just say, I typically charge $50 an hour for a coaching session, but I'm willing to give you one coaching session in exchange for you walking my dog once a week, or something like that. So figure out what you usually charge and make sure you're clear on that. And then also I figure out what you're willing to barter for. And then something else I've heard people say when they ask about scholarships, one good idea that I heard was to even say something like, once, like in your head, once I have this many clients, I'd be willing to coach another client pro bono, or I'm willing to coach this many clients, 2 clients per quarter for free, or something like that. So again, think through, what am I willing to charge? Like, what am I hoping to charge at the end here when I am finally getting paying clients? And then also, what am I willing to barter for? And when would I be willing to make an exception? Like, if I have a sliding scale, I'll this is the pay what you can version, or any way like that, that you can help people out. If there's a scholarship or something, it helps you to think through those things first. So then if people ask, you can answer with confidence. If they say, ooh, I could never pay $50 an hour, what else, what other deals do you have? And you can say, well, I'm looking for someone who can help me with my website, or someone who can whatever. Are these any skills that you have? And they say, no, not really. And then you could say, well, I do offer a scholarship, this frequently. Right now, I actually don't have anyone filling that spot. So I'd be willing to consider you for that spot. So basically, think through all of these different things so that you have a confident response when someone asks. All right, next is, What perspective should I have in finding new clients? Take the perspective that everyone you meet is either a client or a connector. So they're either interested in your services or they know someone who might be interested. So that helps you hone your messages so you can leverage that with whoever you're in conversation with. So it used to be really awkward when I would meet someone new because they would say, Teresa, what do you do? And at that time, coaching was still so new, people didn't really know what it was. So I just always felt frustrated trying to explain because if you say, oh, I'm a nurse, I'm a teacher, people know what that is. They're like, oh, cool. Okay, I'm whatever. But for me, I would be like, I'm a coach. Do you know what that is? Blah, blah, blah. And it was this long, convoluted explanation. But now that I know what I do and who I help, when they say, what do you do? I say, I help busy women design a sustainable system for avoiding burnout and achieving wellness, enjoying wellness. And they go, really? That's cool. Tell me more. So it's helpful to have your own little elevator pitch, your own little, like, what do I do? Who do I help? So then you can say that instead of just, I'm a coach, because that can be awkward. Okay, so that's pre-session. Those are a few things you can think through. There were other things that I also thought about I did another workshop a month or two ago. Actually, I can't remember when, but anyway, it was about basically how can you show up fully charged so you can be your authentic self. So I had other questions and things in that workshop, but these are some of the purely logistical things that I thought through. So that's a little bit for pre-session. And then let's go on to during the session. Okay, this should be obvious, right? But it's not. What should I know about my client's name? Double check how to spell your client's name. So my name is Teresa with no H. And you would not believe the number of times that I send someone an email. And of course, my Teresa, my name is in the email, in the header, it's in, my signature, and they'll respond. They'll click reply and say Teresa. And it's kind of frustrating because it's a beautiful name, Therese, when you have it TH, but mine isn't TH. So it's just a little thing that I've learned. Double check how to spell your client's name. I had one client once whose name was Catherine, Katharine. I feel like the more common spelling is ER. And so I accidentally sent her her first email with the ER. And she very politely said, she responded to my email and said, by the way, my name is AR. And I felt so bad because I thought this is a pet peeve of mine and I didn't even double check. So learn from me, always double check. How do you spell your client's name? Make sure you really, really know. And then also write down, how do you pronounce it? If it's a pronunciation that's a little tricky, write however weird way you need to remember how to pronounce it. And then even the first few times you talk to your client, double check. Okay, did I say your name correctly? Help me say it again. Like, make sure you know how to pronounce it because it seems like such a little thing, but it's a big thing to the people who are involved. So make sure you know how to spell it and how to pronounce it. And then you can also ask, what are their preferred pronouns? That might be a good question for your enrollment form. Just make sure you know how they want you to view them and how they should be referred to. Okay, another question. Where should I coach? Coach wherever you can best minimize distractions. So try to meet somewhere quiet. Those of you who have been in a class with me know that I have a child, and especially when he was a newborn, sometimes people would pause in the middle of class and say, do you need to go get that baby? And I was like, he's not just in the hall by himself. His dad's taking care of him or his babysitter's taking care of him. So whatever you can do to try to minimize distractions. I mean, I was in a separate place, but apparently it was not good enough. One thing that I found since then, some people use, it's called CRISP, KRISP. It minimizes background sounds. So that's one thing that maybe I would try if I knew this back then. Basically, whatever you can do to make sure it's quiet, that's one thing that's huge. Another thing is know what the person you're meeting with, know what their preferences are. And this might be in the Design the Alliance. So one example that's given in the ICF video series on the updated core competencies, I can send the link if you're interested. But one thing that they say there is one coach was working with someone who, because of religious preferences, didn't believe in having dogs near them. And so they had specifically asked in their design, the alliance, if you have a dog, please just don't have your dog on the screen with you when we're talking. And this person, I don't know if they forgot, the coach forgot or something, but the dog was all up all around her and it was just very offensive to the client. So that seems like kind of a weird thing, but basically just know what do my people need in order to be able to focus? What does my client need to focus? And if it's keep your dog out of the way, keep your baby quiet, whatever it is, just try to help them focus as best as they can. So as coaches, we're trying to hold space. So I view it as what can I do to really hold that space so that they can focus on unpacking whatever is going on in their head and not get distracted from that insight and that transformation. So something I do personally is turn off notifications on my phone, or honestly, I usually keep my phone on silent in a different room. But I just turn off the notifications on my phone, turn off any notifications on your computer, minimize or close windows that aren't related to the client session. Just make sure that you're not getting distracted too, because you want to be able to focus and hold that space and stay in level 2 or level 3 listening for your client. And then also define expectations around coaching while driving, both for you and for the client. What do you want? Like for me personally, I say, please do not drive while we're coaching. If we need to reschedule the session, I'm happy to reschedule it, but I want the person to be safe. And again, speaking of holding space, they can't focus. They can't really focus if they're driving while they're also trying to coach. Or I had one client years ago who was listening to actually watching TV like while we were on our session. And so she was pretty distracted. So basically just define your expectations around what does that coaching session look like? What can they expect from you? And what are you expecting from them? Because again, the point of this is I want to hold space for you to process. And so we want to make it as conducive as possible for you to process. So in my case, that means make sure I have childcare. And if the other person needs childcare, what could happen? Is there some kind of swap they can do with another family? Or, what can happen to make sure that that person is in a state of mind, physically and mentally, where they can actually focus? And then also along those lines is how can you protect your client's privacy and their confidentiality? Meet in a private place or use backgrounds, make sure you're kind of far away from other people. So one thing I always do is I have a headset because then even if someone is in another room in my house, they can't hear what my client is saying. So yes, they can hear what I'm saying, but I try to be very careful not to give any specifics when I'm talking. So I don't say, "Hey Teresa, I don't say like any details that they've been talking about. So I try to watch what I'm saying, but also be in a private place that it's okay for me to follow up on any accountability that they've talked about. But also no one else around me can hear who I'm talking to or know who I'm talking to. And then along those lines, also what happens in the coaching session stays in the coaching session. So, being careful not to share details, just like the breakout sessions. Like, don't share details about what the other person said without their permission. You can share insights you had. Another thing that I learned the hard way was use a unique Zoom link for each session if you're meeting on Zoom. So I had originally been using my personal Zoom meeting room link for everyone, but then some people were very prompt and they'd show up 5 or 10 minutes early and there was already someone in that session with me. So it wasn't a good confidential private place. So now I've learned how to create unique Zoom links and I could show you how to do that if you're interested. But that's what I do now for every session that I have with someone is create my own unique link and send it to them. So I know only that one person has that unique link. No one else is going to be crashing our party. And if you're meeting with the same person more than once, Zoom has the option to create recurring sessions. So if that's useful for them to just use the same link every time, that's okay. But make sure they're the only person who have that link. And then another thing to be aware of is what are the data collecting requirements for your area? So obviously in different countries and different parts of the country, there are different requirements, but one thing I recommend just to keep everything secure is to keep your notes brief. So if you're taking notes on Google Docs, only write down the agenda, the keywords, the action steps, the date and the time of the next session, something like that. And then what I usually do is I send a follow-up email. And once I send the follow-up email, I delete my notes that I was just taking notes on, because the follow-up email obviously is in their email and in my email. So I can refer to that again, but I just don't want someone to stumble on this. And then also on my notes, when I'm taking notes, I never write the name of the person that I'm taking notes with. So some people will use initials if they're writing their notes, but I number one don't even write their name or any identifying information. I just write agenda, keywords, action step, date of next session. And then after that, like I said, I delete the note when I'm done. So just think of things like that. Like how can I keep my person safe even if something leaked somewhere? That, if whatever leaked, it's still not something that would be offensive to anyone. And then another thing to think about is, how can I protect myself when I'm coaching? One thing a lot of people recommend is to have a local lawyer review your coaching contract and your website terms of use, your website privacy policy. I put this off for a long time because it really seemed intimidating. And then I just found someone a couple of years ago. I just Googled, I was like, someone to review coaching contract. And I found this person who specialized in startup businesses or small businesses. And this person lived literally right up the street from me. It was like a minute away. So what? It was so easy. It was so easy. I don't know why I waited. So I encourage you to have this person look at your coaching contract just so you know local laws, because this lawyer that I found was able to put in something that was specific to the state where I live, and I didn't know about that. So this is someone who specializes in your area. Just have them look through your coaching contract. They'll usually help you if you want help writing a contract from scratch. You can do that. The ICF also provides sample coaching contracts. Ashley, I think CTEDU, yeah, we have a sample coaching contract also. So you can go in with, hey, I think this is what you want. For me, because I'm a detail-oriented person and I've coached for a long time, I made a lot of adjustments to mine of, okay, this is what to expect with missed sessions or, late reschedules. So I added a bunch. So feel free to adjust yours and then just take your draft to some local lawyer who can confirm what the rules are for your area. That's one way to protect yourself. Another way is record all the sessions with your client's consent. And that just helps for liability things. Then anyone could go back and review that video if necessary to confirm what actually happened in the session. So with that, you have to think about storage also. Like, how can you safely store these video recordings? So again, do you have some kind of system where you don't have the person's full name as the name of your video file? Or what is your system for knowing who these videos are while still protecting the client and yourself? And then another thing to think about is professional insurance for coaching. The ICF, I actually reached out to the ICF about this, and they said they offer their members a discounted rate for Westminster insurance. And I can send a link for that if you're interested in that. But they said that provides professional insurance for coaches, and they gave me a link about that as a member benefit. So if you're interested in hearing more about the ICF's professional insurance, I can send you that link. But also they said in many cases, your primary insurance might offer professional insurance as well. So they said, just reach out to your primary insurance and ask about professional insurance. I mean, another thing along protecting yourself is in your contract, say, this is what coaching is. This is what you can expect from a session with me. This is what I expect from you. So there are no questions. I am not a therapist. I'm not here to diagnose medical conditions or, anything. I don't diagnose anything. I hold space for you to explore whatever you're interested in. Like in this case, maybe it's how to recharge or how to avoid burnout. Like I hold space for you to explore it, but all action steps come from you. And I hold you accountable for whatever you want me to hold you accountable for. So just be very clear about what they can expect in your contract. And then another thing I like to think about is, what should I wear? What should I wear? I feel like it's like that dress for the job you want. So if you're trying to coach professionals, dress like a professional, get rid of the mom bun and the yoga pants. But if you're coaching moms of toddlers, maybe the mom bun and the yoga pants is going to help you to seem much more relatable. So who are the clients you're hoping to reach? And also remember that you're representing the field of coaching as a whole. So give a good impression, just make sure you're really showing I'm this person who's here. I'm holding space for you and I'm doing level 2 listening. But also make sure your outfit is not taking away from that message. All right, that's during the session. Those are just a few things I thought of. So then we've got one more section here, post session. So after your session is done, what about your ICF coaching log? Be sure you record every coaching session on your ICF coaching log and then save that coaching log in at least 3 places. So like your desktop, an external hard drive, some secure location in the cloud, like LastPass or something like that. So just make sure you've got it saved several places because you've put so much hard work into practicing coaching. The worst thing would be if some burglar breaks in and steals your computer, and then now you have no idea how many hours you have. So just make sure you're saving your coaching log several places. And I love calendar reminders. So I have a recurring calendar reminder once a week to update my coaching log in all 3 of those places. So every single day I do save it, but then that once a week is when I upload it to the different places. So just make sure you're frequently uploading and saving. And then also just log everything that actually counts. So if you're coaching classmates outside of class, not making up for a missed class, that counts. Go ahead and count it. Count any kind of coaching that you're doing that's actually a coaching session. So sometimes what I've done, if I was coaching a classmate outside of class, not making up for a missed session, if we did like some talking for 15 minutes first and then said, okay, are you ready? Let's start. I don't count those first 15 minutes because that wasn't coaching, but just count once the coaching actually starts. So count everything, back it up weekly, and make sure you're updating frequently. And then also know data collecting requirements for your area. Can you upload this coaching log somewhere online? Where's a secure place you can upload it? So that's one little thing. Well, it's a big thing, actually. Big thing to be aware of. Okay, how do you keep in touch with your clients after your package is complete? Okay, so if someone signs up and I say, hey, I'm going to help you create a sustainable system for avoiding burnout and enjoying wellness, we've got 3 sessions or 12 sessions. So they sign up, they go through this package. Once you're getting close to the end, let's say in my case, 12 sessions. So maybe on the 11th session, I'll say, as you know, we have 1 session left. And so either on that 11th session or the 12th session, make sure you define the alliance with your client. What do you want our relationship to look like after this? Some people will say, I want to sign up again. What's the next package I can do? Other people say, this was wonderful. This was life-changing. Now I've got other things I need to focus on. Best wishes. It was great meeting you. So then it's good to know, what do you want our interaction to look like? And some people have said, can I email you? Can I just email you periodically? And I say, yes, like I love hearing from people, and other people are like, yeah, don't contact me. I'll let you know if I want anything else. That's okay. But just make sure you talk through what is it that person wants, because you don't want to drive them away. You don't want them to end with a good feeling and then for them to be driven away by you constantly like, hey, is it time to sign up yet? Do you want to sign up again? So just make sure you confirm with them, what do you want? What do you want from me? How often do you want to hear from me, or ever? What do you want from me? How should I contact you? How often should I contact you? Should I ever contact you again? And then another thing you can do to stay relevant in the person's mind is occasionally send an article or something that makes you think about something that person loved. So if you saw something that you were like, oh, she would love this, or, oh, he was really into this, he might be interested in this, you can just send that article to that person. Again, assuming that they're okay with you sending them stuff. But you can send the article to them and say, hey, thought of you, thought you might enjoy this. And that's fine. It just keeps you on their radar, but it was something nice, but not, give me more, sign up again. So that's just think of ways that you could still stay relevant in their life and send them something actually personalized to them, customized to them, instead of a blast to everyone in your email address. And then here's my last question. Where can I find ideas? Where can I find new ideas for my business? I think the best place to do this is talking with other coaches. So talk to your classmates. What are you finding is working? What are you doing in this situation? What about that situation? What ideas do you have? The ICF also has something called communities of practice. There's peer coaching with Coach Training EDU. So there are lots of different places where you could share ideas and get ideas of what other people are doing and what's working for other people. So those were a lot of questions that I thought through. That's everything. That was a lot of questions that I thought through of things related to the logistics of coaching. But I feel like this presentation is just the appetizer. So if you want more details about other things to think about, definitely check out the Build Your Life's Work resources that are included on the Coach portal. Or if you want support in launching your business, you can sign up for the Biz Launcher Bootcamp, and Ashley can tell you more about that. But basically, these are just some questions to think through. If you combine this with my previous workshop, which I don't know if this is available, Ashley, to people, but the other workshop also had a lot of ideas of how can you be fully charged? How can you think of what you need so that you can show up fully charged to your coaching sessions? So those are some things I've thought of. And then if you want support in trying to create those values that and the boundaries so you can stay fully charged, I do have a few different sessions. So one, they're $150 per person. I've got the 12 session recharge package that I talked about. And this is good if you want to do it for yourself or thinking about how can I do this thinking about my business? You know, what do I need to be recharged to show up as a coach? Or I have kind of an abbreviated one that's 3 sessions and it's clarify your charge. So my theme is all about charge. So like plugging stuff in. So clarify your charge. What keeps you charged and how can you make sure you're creating boundaries that are going to help you to stay there? So if you want me to follow up with you, please privately message me your email address and or you can email me recharge.coach@gmail.com.